Rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of
United States of
America
America, and to the
and to the republic for which it
stands,
One nation,
one nation,
one nation,
under God,
under God, indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty and justice
and
for all.
justice for all. There's
Okay. First order of business is the minutes from last meeting, which would be November 19th, 2020.
I make a
You guys
motion
should've-
to approve with one tiny little grammatical error. And I was gonna note where it was and I forgot, but it said something was widen and it should have been widened. Like there should be an ED at the end. And I don't know if we're that picky, but that's kind of my thing. Sorry.
nothing wrong with that.
It's the sidewalk on Fairway Drive.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes, thanks, Sunny.
I second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
I,
Aye. Motion is passed. So what a great night we have planned here. The second order of business, swearing in of new commissioner member Brian Faith. Certainly an honor to turn it over to Vice Mayor Paul Faith now. Go ahead, sir.
Oh, thank you kindly. It's an honor to swear in this newest commission member. It'll be an honor to watch the next one come in after this. Teeny bit of history. Both of these young men, both these Brians are Litchfield Park raised, and they're both Eagle Scouts of our local Boy Scout troop. So, and they've done community projects to get to that level, and they're trying to give back to the community again. So it's fantastic. And not to mention they had one of the greatest scout leaders that's ever been around once upon a time. So they'll remain nameless. So,
Oh,
with
boy.
that, okay, Brian, would you raise your right hand, please? First, Brian. I, Brian Faith, do solemnly swear
I, Brian Faith, do solemnly swear
I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of the state of Arizona,
and the Constitution and laws of the state of Arizona,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and defend them against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
and defend them against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
and that I will faithfully and impartially
and that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties of the Office of Recreation and Public Grounds Commissioner
discharge the duties of the Office of Recreation and Public Grounds Commissioner
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Fantastic.
Congratulations.
welcome.
Congratulations.
Thank
Welcome to
you.
public life.
Yes.
Congratulations and welcome, sir. It's good to have you aboard.
Well, thank you. It's good to be
So,
here.
I see his sister also down in the lower right-hand corner down there watching us from Puerto Rico.
Oh,
Oh,
she's
wow.
in Puerto Rico?
Yes.
Oh,
hello.
Welcome.
So the next swearing in, it's also an honor to, hold on one second. Matthew, we need to do an action on them, correct? Or once they're sworn in, is that done?
No, it's done.
It's done.
Okay, because it says information action, just wanted to be sure. Okay, so again, certainly an honor to turn it over to Sonny and, you know, for the swearing in of his son, Brian. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Anthony. Brian, are you there?
Yes. Yep, I'm here.
Okay, Brian, raise your right hand. and repeat after me. I, Brian Culbreth,
I, Brian Culbreth,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of the state of Arizona,
and the Constitution and laws of the state of Arizona,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and defend them against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
and defend them against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties
of the office of Recreation and Public Grounds Commissioner
of the office of Recreation and Public Grounds Commissioner
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Congratulations and welcome to public service.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Brian.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome, welcome, both Brians. Nice to have you guys aboard.
I think they will probably have to come in and sign these at some point, probably City Hall.
Yes, they will.
And that sort of brings us to our next point too. Discussion of proper meeting etiquette. So have Brian's already completed the training for open meeting law?
I'm not sure about training, but I did read the open meeting law handbook and was on a council meeting, I think the last one, where it was kind of discussed in detail.
Yeah, and we had to sign something that we've read it and reviewed it.
Excellent. So we all had to do that too. And I was, in speaking with Matthew, we were thinking that this would probably be a good time to just review some of the finer points of open meeting law as we kind of roll into a new year. So I'll turn it over to Matthew and let him kind of touch on a few of those points now.
Absolutely. RPG members, you may remember a few months ago, we actually did open records law training with you guys. For our new members, we can certainly do that with you guys if you'd like. It's not the most exciting information, but it is good to know. As the chairman has said, anytime you get a new member on a commission, they're required to receive the open meeting record, the book, so they have that, and also to sign that they've received that within a certain amount of hours of taking office. So I understand you've both done that, and thank you for doing that. As far as open meeting law, there are a lot of caveats that go along with that as far as things that you should and shouldn't do. A big part of that is communications. For example, you can communicate with a staff member, of course, with myself, with Sunny. We can email the board as a whole. However, RPG members cannot email the board as a whole, because to do that constitutes a quorum. Also, you can't debate items between members via email. That's why you'll see a lot of times we will BCC you so that you all see it separately from us, but that way you don't hit reply all. It's very easy to make that mistake. As far as an actual meetings go, again, you may have noticed at the beginning of the meeting, the chairman Toddy asked if we had a quorum. You do have to have a quorum. Of course, a quorum is a majority of the board. As you guys know, you do serve 3-year terms. One point on that you will see on the council meeting next week is we've put this on the council agenda for consideration. So there's 7 RPG seats and you all serve 3-year terms. They rotate off every few years, and the idea is so that everyone doesn't come off the same year. That way you have a rotation, you don't lose the experienced members all at once. Due to prior resignations, our rotation is off somewhat. So staff will be requesting city council to extend the term that was filled by David Schwacke. That term would have expired in March of this year. And one of you, of course, would have to reapply again in 3 months. So we were going to ask council if council would do that to extend David's term by 1 year. And that will get us back on rotation so that both those terms would have expired by March of 2022 versus 2021. The other one was filled formerly by Councilmember Claire before he was a council member. So again, that will just put us back on alignment, just so you're aware of that as far as filling terms. One of you filled the terms that that was vacant by Ron Claire, one of you by David Schwacke. But again, that will fix that issue. Okay. If you have questions as I go along, please. As far as an actual meeting goes, it's always good to refer to the chair as the chairman or chairperson, obviously commissioner for the members. Whenever there's a vote, there needs to be a motion and a second. Also, that when you have the vote, you should also ask also if there's any votes to oppose. It's important to have both sides. Someone might vote no. You certainly don't know. It's good to have it both ways. So lots of good things to go over. Also, again, that you'll see on the agenda tonight, some things are informational, some things are action items. Some things will certainly come back for later discussion. And staff will advise on certain points too. However, again, RPG, you are the voting members. You can certainly ask staff for our opinions on things, for our thoughts on this. But again, you are the voting members, and we welcome any questions that you have. I don't want to throw too much at you. I can send you a lot of information. Again, it's a lengthy PowerPoint. But again, you just have to be careful. Also, a big thing I would tell you is that all city communications, almost all city communications, are discoverable. And what I mean by that is if there's ever an investigation, those things, they're open records. They can be taken. They can be made public. I tell my commission members anytime I have a new member come on is if you don't want to see it in the newspaper, don't put it in the email. It's really that simple. You just can't be too careful about that. Okay. And also when you're using certain devices, be careful what devices you use those on. For me as a city employee, I will not do things on my personal phone because it makes my personal phone discoverable. That's not so much a big deal with RPG members, but again, be careful about those things. As far as meeting etiquette, again, everyone has the right to their opinion. Again, we've discussed yes, we've discussed no's, we've discussed terminology of the meeting. I would refer to Robert's Rules of Order about that as far as proper ways to do things. There's a lot of different avenues of doing that, but mostly it's just keeping the meeting straight, keeping the meeting organized. That's important. And two, it's very easy to get off into the weeds of agenda items, to get off into details that aren't necessarily anything to do with it. Also, if it's not on the agenda, it can't be discussed. A lot of times there may be things that you want to discuss. Now, if there's a staff report, you can ask questions about the staff report. But as far as the agenda item goes, again, you can't just have any conversation you want to have. You might like to, but again, it has to be on the agenda to be discussed. So I'm not going to give you much more than that. I don't want to put you to sleep this early in the meeting. Any questions as far as on specific items goes? Okay. For our new members, if you have more questions, I'd be glad to meet with you guys and go over more things certainly in detail. And we can work on these meetings together. And I know that it's important to keep meetings short so they don't run too long. I will tell you, I've worked with a lot of commissioners, a lot of boards over the years. For my members that have been here before, you know this. When I worked for Pinetop Lakeside, I was the town liaison to 15 different boards. I did a lot of board meetings monthly. And we can work together to make sure the meetings run efficiently and short and do your business and go home. And that's important too for the public as well as you guys. So again, that's enough for me. But thank you guys for joining tonight. We're very glad to have you. And I would also like to thank the Vice Mayor and thank Sonny for being here with us. And of course, being the dads to swear your sons in. That had to be a proud moment for you. So we appreciate you being here. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'll refer back to you at this time, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. That was very well said and very thorough. Much appreciated. Okay, our next item is information action, city wayfinding signage. Presenter, Matthew Williams. You guys have a picture in the packet that was emailed out that Matthew will be referring to while he's presenting.
Commission members, you may remember these from last month. Again, I know it's been a while since the November meeting. This is what's called wayfinding signage. Most of these, they refer directions to local businesses. There are several of these around the city. The most noticeable one is at the corner of Litchfield and Wigwam. So you might look at that again. You have the photo in your packet. A few months back, the mayor asked if we would look at these to however you want to say it, redesign these, update these. There's several different ways of doing it. I will tell you, from being a Main Street guy previously, a lot of cities actually sell this signage. Basically, you have to pay to be on the sign. I would not tell you to do that, but a lot of cities do that. They're very common in busy downtown areas, especially historic downtown areas. They're pretty common. As you see on this one, it has directions, downtown businesses, that sort of thing. There's a lot of different ways of doing this. We could, of course, do a brand new sign, brand new bracket, brand new shape. There's 50,000 designs. I encourage you to go on Google and look at wayfinding signage at all the different types there are. The easiest way to do would be simply to redo this one. We could certainly have the frame to restore the frame and put new signs on, especially update the signs. If you're familiar with the logo, you'll notice that sign has the old city logo on it. That should be updated. If you were going to put the city logo on there, it should be the current logo. That's the old logo that changed some time ago, so that should be considered. I know we had discussed sending this back to some of our local art students to work on this. A few issues with that is, one, it's more of a design for a sign shop than it is that, where students would be more for like an art project. If we were going to do a mural in the park, something along those lines would be more appropriate for that. So it'd be more along the lines of design. Okay. And two, but if you guys want to look at this, see what you think. Again, if you just want to replace the signs, I know we talked about the city center, waiting on these to city center. We can do that, but I would encourage you to go ahead and look at some updates for these now, just due to time. We're looking to get started on city center hopefully later this year, but at the same time though, we want these signs replaced because they look old. They need to be replaced. They need to be updated, and these kind of things do matter. People see these things, and again, it's important for our downtown businesses. So that's enough for me. Questions, ideas, suggestions on wayfinding signage?
Andy, take it away. Then Susan.
So I guess my thought is definitely we need to update to include the new city logo. But at this point, I don't know. I guess my thought is let's not reinvent the wheel right now because the city center, the park, whatever it's going to be is coming. And there's probably going to be a lot more way signage that's going to be included in that project going forward. And so maybe we want to just kind of update what we have now, keep the current shape and all of that so that we're not paying a whole lot more money to reinvent something here, and then maybe do an update all the way around when the park and the city center are done.
Thank you, Andrea. I like that. Susan?
I recall that we discussed throwing this out to the middle school for an art project, or even the high school. Did we not talk about that?
We did, and Matthew addressed that. He was, I believe, making the point, Matthew, and I'll turn it over to you to clarify if I don't hit everything that you had mentioned. But he was saying that perhaps it would be better to incorporate the middle school, high school art students in a mural rather than the signage. But, it certainly is not a done deal. We could certainly still discuss it. Matthew, was that what you were headed towards with that?
Mr. Chairman and as Commissioner, yes, that's correct. As far as the school project goes, one, that the schools aren't in session right now, so it's hard for them to do any kind of art project when they're not actually in class. I know we have another group in town that's wanting to do something with the high school, but they just can't because the kids aren't there. Unfortunately, with COVID, that's made things like that hard to do. And I would agree. Yes, I think having the art students is great. I've used art students in other communities for, again, downtown murals, that kind of thing, for art projects people can see, but not so much as far as designing these, because you can order wayfinding signage of a catalog. You can certainly have them custom made, but obviously they get too expensive. You could certainly redo these and just redo the graphics on these, and there's several different avenues of ways of doing it.
May I have one more comment? I would think it'd be fairly simple to just incorporate our new logo on the top of that sign. And then once we figure out what you want it to say, it's a fairly simple design, is it not?
It is.
Okay.
They're very simple to redo. I mean, you can change the graphics, you can change the city logo. There's so many things. As far as that goes too, you could just use the actual board as a base, and we could do a whole new vinyl backdrop so it's colored differently. There's so many different ways of doing it.
Okay.
So if I'm hearing everybody correctly, there's probably like two issues that we're talking about here. The first is just this sign in particular, and then the second is once the construction is finished on the new park, what kind of signage we would want, way signage at that point, which would probably be a bigger project. Is that correct?
That's correct, sir.
So do we need a motion on fixing this new sign, referring it to city council so that it's updated to reflect the new logo, or is that something we want to wait on?
But you would need a motion, sir, if you would like, if the board would like to take action at this time. That is up to you, of course. I would ask if you just let us know exactly what you're wanting to do. If you're wanting to just update the logo, if you want to update the rest of it, it's pretty specific as far as that goes. That would help us to know what you're looking for. Another thing you guys could do if you wanted to is you guys could certainly look at designs yourself and bring them back later if you would like to compare different designs. But again, that may be more so when City Center gets built at that time, because that'd be the time to do the more expensive sign.
I'd like to put a thought out there. I sort of feel like if we spend money fixing this sign right now and then in the next 6 months do a larger sign project, I'm wondering, did we waste money? Not waste money. Did we spend money that maybe we could have just waited another 6-7 months, to get all of the signs done so that they're all matching, or the bigger project? Go ahead, Adam. And did you have your hand up again too, Susan?
No, I had my hand up.
I'm sorry. Adam and then Joanne.
Good evening, Mr. Chairperson and Commission. So my big question is, what is the cost to do the minimal refurbishing, the logo and repainting? I don't think anything has moved. Restaurants haven't moved. The resort hasn't moved. So what is the minimum cost to do the logo? And if we're going to eat that cost in a year and a half or 2 years, whenever we do the city center, then why are we spending any money on it now? Why not just wait? Sorry, I'm at the dog park.
Those are good questions. I don't even know if we have answers right now, do we, Matthew? Or is that something we'd have to kind of outsource for bids?
We haven't got any cost yet. I mean, that would certainly have to refer it to a sign shop to get prices on that. Mr. Chairman, I believe that Sonny had some comments on that.
Okay, let's hear what Joanne's comment was, and then we'll go over to Sonny.
My comment is that I do agree with Andy in the fact that I like the sign, just have to change the logo. And as far as doing it now and then having to do it later, we don't know how much later we're talking about. So if this sign is ready to go, I would go with this now and then just add on. I don't think you're going to come up with anything bigger or better. Maybe you will, but this is something that we recognize. People recognize it. And with our logo on it, I think it would work well.
Is there only
Thank you, Joanne.
one sign?
I'm sorry.
Is there only the one sign?
No, there are
around the
more
city?
signs. There are signs around right now. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be answering that.
No, it's okay. No, I believe there are more than one sign. There are a few signs.
That's correct.
So
Sonny, and then, I'm sorry, go ahead, Brian.
we'd be looking at updating them all at the same time, I imagine.
Just the
Yes.
logo. Correct?
Go ahead, Matthew.
Well, that's up to you guys as far as what all you want to update. That would be up to the board. But yes, sir, if we were going to update one, I would recommend that we update them all so they match.
Sonny and then Susan.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Mr. Chairman, we could certainly have our Public Works get in touch with a sign company that they work with on other signage and come back with a cost. I also would like to add recreation center to that sign and the other signs. I know it says city services, but a lot of people looking for the recreation center might not know where that is, but they could come back with a design fairly simple and give us a cost in a pretty quick time, I think.
Go ahead, Susan. Thank you for that, Sunny.
I would like to direct my question to Matthew if I could, and Sunny. On these signs, looking at what they say now, resorts, restaurants, services, and shopping, is it more, are you looking more to narrow in on key factors of where you're trying to direct people? Because I don't really, that yes, there's services, there's salon services, but basically, are we not talking like resort, the downtown, like Sunny said, the recreation center? I think as a committee, we need to figure out what we want the signs to say, correct, Matthew? And then we can figure out how to design them.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. They are for the downtown area of Litchfield Park. If you'll see just below the city logo there, it says City Historic District. They are for the downtown area, that is true. We could certainly change out services for recreation. That's certainly a change that we could make if you would like to. And that, as far as the question that was just asked, that will become a lot more important too once City Center is built. Because at that time, there'll be more retail, there'll be more restaurants that will not be in the way these signs that are pointing. So that will become a bigger question at that time. But it's certainly all up to suggestion.
So for the next meeting, we're really requesting a couple of things. One, we're requesting that the commission members go, all the commissioners go and kind of do Google searches and look at different styles. Two, we're requesting prices on updating the existing signs to reflect the current logo for the city. And then three would be long-term. What would all the signs incorporate? How many more signs would we want when all the construction is done? But that's probably not something we need to talk about anytime soon. We probably just want to look at content and price of updating existing signs for next meeting and style. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, that would be correct. If you see on the sign, it has 7 lines of information. That's important. The sign shop is going to ask that. They generally charge by the letter. So we would want to know, of course, if we'd like to change the wording. Again, we could change services to recreation if that's what the board wants to do. Again, I think you sound to me like you're in agreement on changing the city logo. You could also change the color of the backboard if you wanted to. There's a lot of different things. Basically, we need it pretty nailed down to get a quote from a sign shop. That's what I'm saying, as far as what words you want on it, that kind of thing, so we can get you an exact quote. As far as looking at wayfinding signage examples, I would suggest we do that for the future for City Center, because be looking at examples out there at all the different kinds, because it'll become much more important at that time.
So really, we're just waiting on a motion, correct? A motion to add recreation and take off services, and a motion to update the logo on the signs. Susan, you had your hand up.
I had one more comment too.
Okay. Brian, go ahead, and then Susan.
Oh, sure.
Or was
Yeah,
it?
so,
I'm sorry.
oh, go, Susan, go first.
I was just going to make a comment. I know that both, well, I shouldn't say I know. I feel that Goodyear and Avondale has put out an art contest to do some of their wayfinding signs. I don't know if that's also something we could do in the park, make them be really cool, really trendy. That's a thought, because they're very boring, and I understand why Matthew wants us to get them changed.
They're definitely dated.
Yes.
So just a follow-up question, Susan, are you talking about an art contest just to the community itself, to the world?
Exactly. I doubt we'd get very much response from it, but we could put it maybe in the next city line. Or Matthew, what's the time frame?
As far as getting a quote back for the board, is that what you're asking me?
Well, like what's the end goal? When would you like to have these installed?
Just the sooner the better. I don't want to rush it and get a rush design. I'd rather take the time and get a good design if that's the question. Okay. I mean, if we could get them in the spring, that would be great. I think that Adam would like me to ask. He's asking the board on the chat feature. He's saying, do you want to add library?
Yeah, if I could speak real.
Take it away, Brian.
Yeah, I was actually going to mention the library as well, and I saw Adam put that in the chat. Yeah, when I look at the sign, it says, you know, resort, restaurants, services, and shopping. I think overall, I like that it has those 4 items. I think if we add too many on there, then it gets kind of small as you're driving by. So I like 4 items. And really, so I think I'd recommend getting rid of services and shopping. As of now, I'm not really sure what shopping we have down there, but unless someone can help me out with that. But I think it'd be better to have the rec center and the library. That's my go.
Can I ask a question? So, Matthew, how many signs are exactly like the one in the picture?
So I am aware of 3 signs. Of course, where they are location-wise would determine which way the arrows point because they're at different areas in the city. But as far as the wording is the same on the other signs.
Okay. So if we wanted to move forward with exactly what Brian said, we would need a motion to reflect. We would want all 3 signs to have the logo and the words services and shopping taken away. Or did we say we wanted to get a quote on that first? Anybody?
To get the quote, I need to know what you want on the sign.
That's right.
Sonny, go ahead.
Yeah, I actually have worked with quite a few sign, the ones at the park, the ones in front of the rec center. I did not do this one, but I know we can go to a sign company and we can give them our ideas and they can do a mock-up and say, this is what it would cost for this. And you'd be able to look at it and see if the letters are too small or if they're just right. I think, again, as Matthew said, decide generally what you want on there. It could even change at your next meeting, but I think they'll still give us a quote, even if an additional word is added. I don't think that should hold us up.
True.
Are you okay with that? Agree.
So do we need a motion for that, Matthew, or is that something we could just ask you to do?
We could go ahead and get a quote for it. I just want to be clear on everything you want on the wording again. So you want to take off services, put recreation in the place of services. You want to take off shopping and put the word library in the place of shopping. Is that
And
correct?
library. And library.
Yes, ma'am.
I think that should
And
be
then
action.
Yeah,
that should be an action.
I would like to do it as a motion in a second also, just in case there's anyone that wants to put different wording. You never know till you ask. And we can't ask for your vote on that without actually having a vote. So yes, sir, a motion in a second would be great.
I move that
Okay.
we do get a quote on this sign with an updated logo, and we replace shopping with rec center, and we replace services with library.
I second.
Thank you for that, sir. We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Excuse me.
Aye.
Hi.
Just a point of order, but I think you got it. But after a motion has been given and seconded, then you say, is there discussion? If no
Right.
discussion, then you approve it. But it sounded like everybody said aye.
Right.
Right on. Excellent. Thank you for that, Sonny. Okay, so we'll look forward to that next meeting.
Were there any nays? I don't know.
I don't believe
Mr.
so. Were there any
Chairperson?
nays?
Mr. Chairperson, I didn't say nay, but I wanted to ask Matt. Matt, would they reuse that same metal? I would imagine that would be the most cost-effective way if they could just repaint the old metal. But I mean, I think we'd want to know the most cost-saving measure, considering we'll probably be replacing them in years to come, sooner than they'd be replaced this time.
Yes, sir. They would reuse the metal. If we did want to use it a different color, they could paint it, or they may just put a new vinyl background on and just wrap it and do letters that way too. There's several different ways of doing it. But yes, sir, they would probably reuse the same metal. We can certainly quote it that way.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Is there anything else, Susan? You kind of had a hand up there as we were rolling into our vote. Did you want to say something else?
I was just going to suggest to change the word restaurants to dining. I don't know if it's irrelevant, but it has less letters and might be easier to read.
That sounds more modern too.
So I think we would need a motion on that. Or can we just say, hey, can we also get a second quote to change all the other changes plus change restaurants to dining?
How about this, Mr. Chairman? I would like to make a motion to add to the previous motion that we change the word restaurants to dining.
I second that.
Is there anybody that would like to discuss that first? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, thank you for that. Sorry we missed you the first time, Susan.
Okay.
Next order of business, tree carving quotes and designs. This is an information action item. Presenter is Matthew Williams.
Mr. Chairman, you have a photo of this tree in your packet if everyone has seen it. This tree is at the point at the lake, and some of you may have seen this tree. To me, it's a white pine. I don't know that it's white pine, but where I come from, it is. So as you'll see, there's branches broken off this tree. So this tree has been assessed to be a danger to what we call a hazard tree. It will be removed by a West Coast arborist. That being said, it's on a very prominent point. It's a large tree. Taking it out will be quite noticeable. Something staff has talked about doing with this tree is actually is having it cut down, of course, but having it cut at 10 or 15 feet off the ground. I would recommend 10, and having a carving done from the base of it. There's all kinds of things you can do. We could go out for designs on that and see, but I think that's an interesting way of doing it. The easy way to do it, of course, would just be to cut the tree, call in a stump grinder, call it done. However, I do think it would be an interesting asset to the park and to kind of honor the tree that was there, to do a carving on that. We could have a chainsaw carver come in and do it, something that fits right for the community. My recommendation would be that the board look for us to go out for designs for that and bring the designs back to the board and see what you guys think. That being said, I would be interested to see what you guys would like to see in a carving. Any ideas as far as that goes?
Go ahead, Andy.
Well, I love the idea because there's tree carvings like that. There's some on the resort. They're all over Litchfield, and they're part of the history of Litchfield. And, you know, there's everything from the cigar store looking Indian at the Wigwam to, you know, all sorts of things all over town. So I love that idea, Matthew. And as far as what should go there, I'd have to think about that. But I vote yes to have something carved.
Excellent. Does anybody else want to chime in on that?
I had my hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joanne.
I love the idea, and throwing this out just to see what happens, I would suggest an owl. And the reason I say that is because this whole area was once owls' homes, the home of owls. And we know that from early on in the 19th century to the time when the school opened, and our Litchfield school are the owls. When Agua Fria opened, they were the owls. And we still have owls in the valley. So that's my suggestion for the design. Thank you.
I like that idea. Andy, was that a hand up?
Remember when, one of the things David Chwake and I really liked were the peace poles, and we kind of suggested those as part of maybe the park. So maybe it could sort of be a totem / peace pole and have an owl in it.
Sounds good. Yeah. I like that.
I like that too, bringing together an idea that
a cotton bowl and an owl, and I don't know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
A fish. A duck.
There you
A
go.
duck.
A
A duck.
duck.
I will tell you, as far as staff goes, Sonny won't like this, but we've been saying around staff that it should be a likeness of Sonny due to his years of service to the city at the lake.
The last thing I want to do is be hung on a pole.
So I suppose we'd be waiting for a motion to recommend that we talk to a chainsaw wood stump carver with the design intent to incorporate peace pole, owl, and possibly a duck. Oh, Susan?
You're muted, Susan.
You're muted.
Mute. I was looking at the way the tree is leaning, and I don't know that the peace pole is going to look very good because it's leaning so much. My first thought was we have the trout derby there all the time, right? I don't know if that the base of that trunk would lend itself to maybe a fisherman or a child fisher, a child fishing. So we could talk about this forever.
Or just the fishing pole.
Brian, take it away.
Yeah, I think those are good ideas, and Susan brings up a good point as far as the way the trunk is leaning and that type of thing. So I think it might be a good idea to leave it up to the artist if they're going to come and look at it. I think it has it says here to get proposals, put it out for quotes from multiple artists. So it might depend on the stump, how big it is, how wide it is. That might kind of dictate what designs we have.
Do we know offhand, Matthew, what is the current diameter of that tree trunk?
No, sir, I couldn't tell you.
Come on, Matthew.
I know, right? I can tell how much it costs to cut it down. I can tell you that, but no, sir, I can't tell the diameter of the tree. I would agree. Agree. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Kyle, was that your hand up, and then Adam?
Yes, sir. It's 46 inches around.
Well done.
Nice, Kyle. Nice. Adam?
As part of a quote from an artist, I would also like to know the estimated longevity of it. It's a living thing right now. Living things rot and die and go away. So before we spend, taxpayers' money on it, I love the ideas, but I want to know how, bang for our buck, how long will it last? And so if we can also get that information from the artist, it would be appreciated.
That's also a good point. Do we need to make action on this? Are we waiting for a motion?
Yes,
I believe
sir, Mr.
we are,
Chairman.
because it says information action, right?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, that is
So
correct.
does anybody want to make a motion to go out to artists looking for designs and quotes? Andy?
I move that we get, 3 quotes from artists to give us ideas for the tree trunk at the lake.
I second that.
Are there any further discussion points on that?
I would only say not limited to 3. In other words.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
At least 3.
Yeah, okay.
Brian, go ahead.
Yes, I don't know if there's anyone local in Litchfield that does chainsaw carvings, but I think that if there is, that'd be a good place to start, and then probably be familiar with the ones that are already in the area, and kind of that to allow them to propose their artistic ideas that would already have like a Litchfield in mind.
Right on. That's a great idea too. Joanne, take it away.
I just wanted to mention that Brian acquiring or asking about a person who does that. Unfortunately, the things that we have in the park right now were done by a gentleman from South Dakota, who has passed. It was a long time ago, but those things have held up. Nothing is, they were from tree trunks and they're doing well after all these years. He did them back in the early 90s or the late 80s. So that's something you don't have to really think about. I mean, the tree may be living, but once you cut everything down, it's dead. And then you go into it and the roots are still there, but it doesn't die. I mean, these things are still strong and beautiful. Thank you. Hi, Sunny.
Okay, are there any further discussion points on that? So all in favor of going to a local artist and other artists for designs and quotes that would incorporate owls, maybe peace pole, maybe a fishing child, and possibly a duck, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. Staying on the theme of trees, we're going to now hear from Kyle about city tree health issues. This is information only.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commission. Matthew did ask me to kind of touch base about some of the current tree situations that we got going around in the community and the city. I don't know if most of you guys have noticed, but we were starting to lose quite a few pines along Camelback, a little bit on Dysart, some of the islands at 11-1, 11-2. So I kind of jumped into it before it kind of got ahead, and I did some evaluations on it myself. Now I'm not going to tell you I'm the best perfect person at it, but I've done a lot of schooling with it. I contacted a mutual partner that I used to work with back in the day. His name is Ryan Kibler. He is he's got his bachelor in agriculture and biology, and he owns a very large company here in the city. And I asked him if he'd come over and do me a favor for the city. He's actually been working with the city of Scottsdale at the moment. They're having kind of the same issues that we're having. And I had him come over and kind of diagnose our trees, our soils, and all that good stuff. So he did do some boring samples on a lot of the trees that are dying off. Unfortunately, he's diagnosed them with Mediterranean bark beetles. These beetles kind of migrated here back in 2005, mostly from China, Southeast Asia. They came over here on wood mills. And unfortunately, they got really heavy this year due to our extremely dry summer. I mean, I don't think we had a measurable rain day most of this summer. So it definitely takes a huge effect on trees like that, keeping the bugs washed away, all that good stuff. I mean, we can only feed these trees so much water, and people don't realize how much rainwater actually helps our ecosystem. So that being said, I asked him to do some samples on him. He sent them out. Like I said, he did test for Mediterranean bark beetles. He did core samples on the trees. Most of them are infected. So how the Mediterranean bark beetle works is that a pine tree will shoot off a pheromone once they're in their peak stage, you would say, like their max life. They'll send out a pheromone. So they're like humans. We have our plateau, and then, obviously we start dying off. So the trees do the same thing. So when they send out this pheromone, it attracts the bark beetles. They're flying around up there, and then they attract. So they attack from the core and out. So you'll have dieback from the outside branches, but they're eating from the inside out of the trunk system. So unfortunately, like I said, most of them are being attacked by Mediterranean bark beetles. I thought it was soil conditions because I know Litchfield's been around for a long time and there's a lot of old soil here. So I did have them doing an analysis on our soils as well to see if that's kind of affecting our tree situation. He did send it off. I don't know if you guys can see this, but he did send it off to Waypoint. They're based out of Tennessee. So our soils aren't the greatest for the tree situation right now as well. the best pH balance for our soils for trees to grow is between 5 and 6. Most of our soil is over 8. So I've asked him to kind of be a, what do they call it? Whatever, where they help, they kind of adjust. Consultant. There you go. Thank you, Sonny. And help us with some kind of chemical balances, what we can add into the nutrients to place nutrients into the soil. He's actually helping us along with this. He's very friendly with the communities, and he loves to help. That's his passion. He's doing it as a favor. He definitely says he wants to help out City of Litchfield. So yeah, if you notice in Rose Park, we're starting to lose a few of the ash trees. I had him diagnose those. He diagnosed with ash decline. So with our watering on the village side, we have a lot of saline in our water, salt. So it causes dehydrating effect. So it dries them out. So he was giving us some recommendations what to put down in the soil to kind of help with the growth of those. I did try to save a few of them, and I think I might have saved one, but the other two are kind of iffy right now. And unfortunately, we went into the fall season, so everything started shedding. I do check them periodically. But yeah, he just says that we need to continue aerating. It definitely helps to get some air into the soil. He was talking about some deep root aeration, where they inject a pole into the ground and force air down into the root system to help it. So we have a bunch of different options trying to save some of these trees. I know Sonny in the past has asked about the orange trees, that some of them are starting to look dead up on top and kind of corrode and rot out. I asked Ryan to kind of do evaluation on those, and he actually asked me how old are these orange trees. I said, I want to say at least 50 years old, most of them. I mean, I know through sub 9 area, those are pretty old orange trees. He just says that unfortunately, citrus trees have a life just like every other tree. They produce all their fruit, and they run out of their time as well. So he says it's just probably one of those years that you're going to start losing some, and we're going to start just having to replace as we go. He says you can band-aid them, you can try to save as much as you can, but he says, how far is that going to go? You can dump whatever you need to and do what you got to do, but it's not guaranteed they're going to live another year. So unfortunately, that's where we're standing with the trees. We're being very proactive with it. I'm working with Ryan. He gave me some pointers of what we should be doing, how we're going to do it. Richard and I are getting down to an irrigation or aerating program. We're trying to do it at least 2 to 3 times a year to help with the soil conditions. That definitely helps with the tree life. So yeah, that's about where we're at. Any questions?
I have a question if nobody else has a question. So I guess I'm wondering, Kyle, as far as just the first set of trees you were talking about with the bark beetles, would you go to a replacement plan? Is there sort of a point of no return? My fear would be that a whole bunch of energy and maybe money is spent to like kind of help the trees to come back, but if there's not much hope that they would all come back and we're losing them, what would be the trees that we would try and replace them with? And I think we had this discussion a few years ago too when we were, am I right, Andy? Yeah. So is there any plan like that now, Kyle, or is it more so just try and rehab the trees we have?
Unfortunately, the trees that we're losing now are probably not savable. I mean, he does have an injection that he actually injects into the base of the tree, the trunk system itself. But he says most of ours have already been attacked too heavy that it's most likely not going to save them. He says your best bet is to get rid of them. So what they do to control the Mediterranean bark beetle is they burn the wood or they suffocate it in a tarp from 7 to 10 days so it doesn't spread. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but you'll have a cluster of pine trees. 5 or 6 of them, and one of them in the middle will be dying off, but the other ones are usually okay. It's because that one, they've attacked that one, and you don't want them to necessarily jump to the next one. So pine trees were not developed to be brought down in here to the desert climate. They're more of the northern, cold, wet, rainy. They require a lot of water at some points. So speaking with Richard, I mean, we did discuss removing them, getting what we have to get out, try to save what we have, and just replant with trees that are more of a native tree. Heritage oaks do very well down here. I know we got them through the city, quite a few through the city. I know in some of the areas where we're losing the pine trees, there's quite a few oaks in there. There's pistache trees. There's a lot of native Arizona desert native trees that we can plant that'll do a lot better than most of these pines. I know everybody loves pines. It brings that comfort, northern feel, but they just weren't designed, or they're not well acclimated to the heat that we have down here. So yes, we do have plans to put something else in and get rid of the pines that are dying off.
Does anybody have any questions for Kyle? Thank you, Kyle. That was really informative. I appreciate that.
You're welcome, sir.
Susan?
So, since we're getting a bid from the artists on the tree by the lake, are there any other trees we might want to have carved, or because they are infested with this beetle, they're not conducive to being carved? They just have to be removed.
Yeah, with these trees being infected, I don't suggest carving them. We don't want them to spread. Now, the one at the lake was a little bit of a different story. It had root rot, and I think it was caused by so much bird feces. I don't know if you guys have ever noticed all the big ducks or whatever they were up on top of the trees. They infested that tree. I just think over time the bacteria is eating them away, and that's why it broke off. I did have West Coast Arborists and myself. We kind of did an analysis on that tree itself, and that's what we looked at. But the ones that are being infested with the Mediterranean bark beetle, I do not suggest we do a carvings because we don't want them to move. We would just want to be able to get rid of them, get them out of the city, and hopefully they don't come back.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions for Kyle? Kyle, I guess we'll get an update from you when you and Richard know a little bit more about the next steps, or Matthew, I guess if there's some kind of action that's taken. Excellent.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
Okay, RPG Com topics for referral to City Council. Discussion of possible topics for referral to City Council. There's information and action. Does anybody have anything to refer to City Council?
No.
Okay. Staff report on current events. Presenter Kyle and Tricia. Information only. Whoever wants to go first.
Kyle, seems like a natural progression. Since you were just talking about the trees, I'll let you continue on and then I'll go.
Yeah, Pueblo Work continues to do our schedule maintenance, continuous sweep scheduling, sanitation of playground equipment. We did remove all Christmas decorations. I want to say the 4th of January, somewhere around there. I have it written down. Public Works has started the outside renovations of the rec center with the assistance with Trish. Public Works assisted rec center with all the special events, and Public Works actually just hired 2 new employees, Julia Compton and Raul Riviera. They've been great. They've been with us for this first week. Everybody loves them. They're performing well, so we're really excited to have them on.
Thank you, Kyle. Tricia?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I'll share with you briefly what's been reported from our department to council as of December. We discussed, I think, a little bit in detail the November 7th and 8th Festival of the Arts at our last meeting, so I don't think you need too much more information on that, but you're welcome to ask me. We did hold the Christmas in the Park Festival December 12th and 13th. For those of you that came out, we do appreciate your participation and support. As you know, we held our parade this year virtually, and we're extremely grateful to Sunny and to David Schwacke for playing a big role in that. If you have not seen the virtual parade yet, it is still online on our website and on the city's YouTube channel. Sunny was our parade announcer, as he is when it's live, and David was so gracious to play Santa on it. And it was a group effort, and we had a lot of fun doing it. Matter of fact, Vice Mayor Faith did a fantastic job, as well as part of our dignitary procession as well. So that was fun to see too. We appreciate that. We added a synthetic ice skating rink, which the city residents took advantage of, especially the children. We incorporated a gingerbread competition, which was also fun. And the mayor's reading, he generally closes out the event with the reading of a Christmas story. And he was also gracious enough to do that, pre-record that and do it virtually, also still on our website and YouTube channel. So all in all, even though we had to make a lot of adjustments to the event, we think that it went well, and those that came out in person, just like in November, overall were very respectful of our COVID plans and the procedures that we had in place. In terms of our aquatics group, the aquatics team has been participating in forums with other municipalities to discuss how to move forward this summer. No firm decisions yet have been made because of the ever-changing pandemic. But we'll continue to assess that and keep you guys updated as we go along. Preschool offered virtual learning in November and December. In light of the pandemic, they followed suit in closing in-person classes along with the school district. But as of January 4th, they are now back in session in person. So our small group of preschoolers at the moment is very happy to be gathered together again, learning with Miss Shea and Miss Rita. And our youth sports teams made plans to move forward with outdoor basketball for winter, which so far is off to a great start. And I know that Pat's on the call, and I'm sure he'd be happy to give any specifics you may have on how that's going so far too. And that's what I have for you this evening. So if you have any questions regarding that, please let me know. Feel free. Thank you.
Thank you, Tricia. Pat, did you want to elaborate on some of those sports and signups? And I know soccer season is right about to start too, and there's a few things going off, right?
Yeah, I can. As Tricia said, we did start our outdoor winter basketball. We had our first weekend last week. We feel it went well. Kids seem to be enjoying themselves, getting back out there and playing. Spring registration did open up to spring basketball as well as spring soccer, and we are going to be doing a spring flag football season this upcoming year as well as what we're offering. And then, so that opened up last Monday for those, and those will remain, registration for spring will remain open until end of February. So right now it's been about a week and a half, and we already have like about 61 registrants for soccer. So soccer's seeming to kind of looking the way, hopefully we get the kids back that we, from last spring that we unfortunately had to cancel. So,
Sonny, go ahead.
Just, Pat, correct me if I'm not correct. But don't you have over 200 kids playing basketball this winter?
Yeah, we have 235 registered for winter basketball.
I think that's awesome.
So how does that compare to last year, Pat? Just out of curiosity, because that would have been pre-COVID last year's wintertime.
I'll have to I can check that real quick. I want to say it's pretty close. I mean, we are down because we usually have about, I think we had 8 in our senior division, which we're down to 4 teams this one. But I mean, compared to due to the COVID and even moving them outdoors, I think that was a really good number where we were looking at. So.
Excellent. Thank you guys for that.
Question?
Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, Kyle, you mentioned that there was some refurbishments at the rec center, and driving by, I noticed that I saw the exterior wall was being redone. I was wondering if you could just give a little more details about what refurbishments are going on at the rec center.
Yes, sir. So City Council decided that we were just going to re-stucco the outside perimeter wall of the pool. It was in, I don't know if you guys have ever seen it up close, but it was in pretty rough shape. The wrought iron fencing that lined the orange trees on the outside was corroded, rusted off. Most of them weren't even attached to the ground anymore. We are painting the outside as well as the inside of the pool. No resurface, no stucco. But yeah, other than that, it's just going to be repainted, refreshened up. It's starting to look a lot better. I've been out there all week checking on it, and it's starting to look good.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Are there any other discussion points on the staff report on current events or recreation programs?
Mr. Chairperson,
Okay.
I had asked a question in the chat. I noticed at the duck pond that there's white stripes all around, and I assumed they were getting ready for a trout derby, but I thought that would probably be irresponsible in this climate. What are the white stripes around the duck pond for?
For the ducks.
No, they're not for the ducks. They're white stripes painted all around.
Tricia, do you want that?
They're trying to keep the ducks in a row is what they're trying to do. Ducks in a row.
Yeah, I'll address that, and I apologize for not addressing that. I thought we were reporting strictly on what had already been previously presented to council. Yes, we are doing the trout derby. It is happening on the 23rd, and the lines that you see with the help of Kyle were drawn out to provide proper social distancing spacing for the anglers that come out that day. So we are, instead of selling registrations by the pole, we are registering by the space for individuals or families up to 4 people in a 10 by 10 space. And each of those spaces have an additional 6 feet between them. So we have approximately 100 spaces out there. We are not selling any spaces that are in front of the condos that are along the lakeside. So all of that southeast section, there will be no fishing in that area. That'll be blocked off. And this year we are doing an adult session in the morning from 7:30 to 10:30, and then a separate kids session in the afternoon from noon to 3 to further enable people to adequately space and not crowd and not be too many people all at once.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do they put more trout in the lake for the afternoon session, or they do? So there's 2 fillings of the lake. There's one in the.
No, not for the afternoon session. They'll put all the trout in several days in advance of the derby. We generally don't like to say when, so that everybody doesn't try and come and scoop them all up before the derby. But yeah, between a week and a few days beforehand, all the trout will be dumped in there.
Okay. Thank you for doing that. I'm sorry, I missed the question in the chat too, Adam. I don't have the chat box open here, but are there any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, if I can make one comment.
Yes, sir.
Again, I would just like to welcome our new commissioners. We're very glad to have you guys on board. I will be sending you the open meeting presentation from the Arizona Ombudsman, which means you will miss my very exciting presentation about those materials, but you will get that soon. Please look over that presentation. If you have any questions at all on those lines, I welcome anything you may have. And again, very glad to have you here with us. Thank you, sir.
All right, great. Thank you.
So does any commissioner want to make a report on current events? Sonny, take it away.
I'm not a commissioner, but this is just a point of information. You may want to listen in on the city council meeting next Wednesday, especially near the beginning of presentations. Woody Scouten is going to be given an update on the city center. And part of that I think he'll talk about the park. I've spoken with him, and once he kind of gets some guidance and direction after his presentation, if he gets some from the council, say talking about phasing of the park, et cetera, he's coming back to the commission for more discussion on the specific areas. So just wanted you to know that that's still in the works and it'll be coming back to you. And if you want to hear what he has to say, Wednesday, you can tune in.
And when is the state of the city, Sonny? That's going virtual this year, and is that in February or March?
It's in February. I'll let Matthew fill you in on that as far as date.
Be
Right
glad
now,
to.
suddenly, is it the 13th or 13th?
That's
Okay,
correct.
I did
Sonny.
have it. All right. I thought I forgot it, but I didn't.
No, you were right, Sonny. It is on Saturday, February 13th at 9 a.m. It will be virtual this year. We will be pre-recording the presentation. That being said, on the day of, we'll be playing the pre-recording, but then we will have a live Q&A session through Zoom so the public can attend that part and ask any questions you might have. But again, Saturday, February the 13th at 9 a.m. And of course, we'll post the link as we get closer. Thank you for asking.
Does anybody else want to report on current events? All that would be left then would be a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Does anybody want to have further discussion on it? No? All in favor of adjournment? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So let it be. Thank you, everybody. Welcome, Brian's.